this new week. This afternoon, Health Service, they have the latest numbers on the vaccination program that is currently ongoing. And they also have a reaction to reports that some persons have been arrested in connection with some illegal activities associated with the vaccination program. They would add that to the latest on our COVID situation and share with us. So I'll take the first brief in English and quickly translate to Twi, take your questions on it, and then I'll yield the podium to the Ghana Health Service to also handle the health part of our brief. Our first brief is from the executive branch of government, expressing its gratitude for the approval of the 2020 economic policy of government. So the executive branch of government is grateful to Parliament for the approval of the 2021 economic policy last Friday, March 19. The economic policy for 2021 seeks to engineer, first of all, a recovery from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then secondly, an accelerated rebound to growth and expansion of the Ghanaian economy starting from this year 2021. Now, in particular, it seeks to reduce our deficit, which is escalated from the 4.8 that we brought it to by 2019 to 11% plus because of COVID and related matters. The first part of this recovery program seeks to bring it back on a path to sustainability over the next 4 years. So about 9% this year, 7% in 2022, 5% by 2023, and then under 5% by 2024. And this is critical to restore debt sustainability and to restore a strong macro foundation to propel the medium-term and then the future growth agenda that we are looking for. Now, key to this program is the Ghana Cares or Bantampa program, which ensures that we would invest money into a number of things, including food security, the industrialization agenda, health infrastructure, among others. Let me just highlight what the budget says on those ones. Building the country's light manufacturing sector, targeting agro-processing, food import substitution, pharmaceuticals and textiles, developing engineering, machine tool and ICT industries, fast-tracking our digitization agenda, investing in housing and construction, reviewing and optimizing the implementation of the government flagship programs, key among them being the One District, One Factory and related matters, and then also creating jobs for young people, as well as expanding opportunities for the vulnerable in society, including those with disabilities. So, as part of the recovery program, the Ghana Cares of Batampa exercise will focus on these ones. Parliament will, from this week, begin to consider the budgets or the estimates of the ministries, departments, and agencies on an individual basis. And our expectation is that by the 30th of March, Parliament should receive and pass the Appropriation Act, which is what will give the minister responsible for finance the mandate to spend from 1st April 2021. You know that what we have currently is the expenditure in advance of appropriation, which we've been spending. It will end at the end of March. So the appropriation will need to be passed before the 1st of April. And then from the 1st of April, there's a legal mandate to spend. Government calls on the general public to support the measures outlined in this economic policy, and also calls on you, our colleagues in the media, to assist in helping all persons understand the benefits of these programs, in particular the post-COVID recovery program, while correcting some of the misrepresentations that may come up in our various discussions. I'm sure you've noticed that the Ministry of Finance has taken time to respond to some of these already, and we ask you to highlight the correct positions for us to help inform the general public. And just two of those positions that have been dealt with by the Ministry of Finance. First is the claim that government says that you have to pay for the free water and free electricity of 2020 through the COVID-19 levy. You know that government has never said that. Government has never said that you have to pay for the free water and free electricity of 2020. The COVID levy is not for free water and electricity. For the avoidance of doubt, the Ministry of Finance statement deals with it. But if you also go into the budget, if you go to, I think, page 58, in their statement they said page 75, but it's actually page 58 of the full document. It outlines the uses of the COVID levy. If I just may have an opportunity to share with you, it's on page 58. It's all listed there. You never see anything anywhere that says that we have to pay for free water and free electricity of 2020. It outlines what government has done so far in connection with the COVID program, and then it goes on to make the point that to provide the requisite resources to sustain the implementation of these measures, government is proposing the introduction of a COVID-19 health levy of 1% increase in the national health insurance levy and 1% point increase in the VAT flat rate for that purpose. So we encourage you to highlight the correct position as has been put out by the ministry responsible for finance. I think another matter that the Ministry of Finance deals with in their statement is a suggestion that government only spent 1.7 billion on COVID. Again, the Ministry of Finance statement spells out in detail the numbers and the tables and the paragraphs where you find those numbers. So I want to encourage you to find some time to highlight those ones. Just for the avoidance of doubt, let me read, I think, paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 of the Ministry of Finance statement. It says, the ministry hereby informs the general public that these publications are incorrect. The 1.7 billion reflects expenditures on only 2 items under the COVID-19 related expenditures. Paragraph 3 says, as at the end of December 2020, Ghana incurred a revenue shortfall of 11 billion and expenditure increase of 14 billion. So if you are looking for the true fiscal impact, it's a combination of these two that will give you the true fiscal impact. The amount of 16.8 billion, paragraph 4, referred to in Appendix 12B, is only providing information on the sources of financing and the fiscal gap resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. So we encourage you to pay some attention to this one. While government expresses gratitude, the executive looks forward to working with all stakeholders in some of the suggestions that have already started coming up to ensure that the new revenue streams achieve the intended benefits. There are already suggestions that, for example, the sanitation levy should be ring-fenced into a fund properly so-called, so that it doesn't go into the consolidated fund with the possibility of it being used for other purposes. Some of these suggestions are encouraged, because then it helps the democratic conversation to shape it to a point that we're looking for. So this is the quick brief. I'll do a translation in P, then I'll take your questions on this and other related political matters, and then we'll go to the health brief. Aban Eden Nasir Kesiema Mrashe Bidja, a friend of Parliament, say 2021, Yesika Samuhun Tutoye, a friend economic policy, no, if you are a Parliament, Ejitu. 2021 economic policy no de edimu akotene pa ne se tokuro abeda sika aban satumika ene de aban de ye adwuma tokuro edem anase kwan a edem no de friend no deficit no de si eni so 2021 we ye ne se ye pese ye ka ebo ano kakra se mo be kai 2019 ne etumi de aba from abedu be 4.8% of GDP ohanchiche mu 9 ne 3.8. Nanso sayare by sika na was ban spend the enema hodo ntino ye spend sika na yenni into emusan bie ohanchiche mu be dubako 11% of GDP into 2021 ekono aban hwe nim say yen close sa atokro no kakra into 11% ye de be form afie we 9% de edi enim be 7% de edi akire be 5 ansana yasan ko back to baby ana ye gina no a be under 5% no by 2024. Ejuma ye no so no de di akotini wo mpa ne ekwan a ye fa so ahwe se mpuntu obesan ba enti program bi aban de abai friend Ghana Cares of Batampa program no bon sa aban pese odi sika hye kuyayo mu biom mfide juma apomuden bia sa agenda 111 ya ye hwe sisi wo Ghana fanai bebrebe nyuma ma mrantie ni mebun ansana abefun tintan ho adwuma de friend no digitization na ye fi ase ye na o passport we ni say ye no boama impuntu anase productivity no etumi eko enim ansana light manufacturing sector na agro processing kuyayo ehu imfidijuma ebema nobae no yetumi aye ho adwuma kakra na ne bo so akosoro ne ade no eno so ye hwe na yaye eho adwuma na what we are yesimi their parliament be say budget ankasa no and say estimate ankasa for ministries, departments and agencies no Parliament befano bako na omo assign we are by 30th of March no near the Nina Booms Appropriations Act na Parliament a pass it. It was said by answer na 1st April besono near wa Appropriations Act. San say ne akohumasika e de ye adwuma no. E kuma bi a e ye adwuma fiti January bedu sa amre wo hwe constitution ni mu a. Tafi na kese na nkasa a ye de be ye adwuma fiti 1st April akopem 31st December no. Ye ba be hwe na ye ho adwuma. Na ye ne saa no so no na yesre oman ni na se yenyina oman no anamontu n'achi na niam ahodo aban ne pese oye ma yesi kasem ne yedwuma sem gina ne na so ne yetumi aye ye ne saa so ne yesre mu yenuanom central for se mumu aye ma ye mo dewurupa ene eho no kre na obia enti ase nkomo ne bi wo ho a bedu ba bi na bon sa chia kakra chia yesre se mumu aye na ye mfa ensi ne na so se efiada nwumre finance ministry issue statement se nkomo ne be mi no achia a mumu aye na ye mfa ensi ne na so ba ko ne say stories beda media mu say yesi aban se ensuo ne nkane a yenya ne free afia besen kono enu nti ne yede to aba se ba bitua ya kire mu say aban kan sada say ensuo ene enyinam nkane yenya ne free no enu ho to ne yede aba aban kan sada eto na yede aba COVID-19 11 wo hwe budget na page 58 wo hwe finance ministry statement ma kan page 75 page 58 ena eho asem nyina wo enema ahodo a yede se scan ye ne ba bia ni ho a yese ensuo ni anyinam kane a na yede ekwa akotua eno ehoka enema ahodo a ye ayaresabia enema yede ko etia yare no ene niema akechira ye hwa ye ho adwuma vaccines ya be ya ye ba be ho adwuma isi ni nyinara ka enema ahodo a aban ye wo COVID-19 okon ne ho na no na budget ne kire se saa niema we ye da ye nim na hu behia se ye be peska na yetumi ede aye eho adwuma enu nti na saa 11 wonti ye be sere mo se mo ma no kore no ndadi na obia ente ne ho ase ebio ohwe statement na say omsan kire mo se publications ni bi ba say sika spending on covid ye 1.7 billion eno so no mo kire mo se nye no kore omo provide details ni na our statement ni mo ye de copy so ebe mamo na motumi abo ho de wuro ema motiefo nyina so ene mahwefo nyina so atibi na ban ekoso ehye Ghana fo bo se na efi ase ana mompa se ye chechero man na kwakodum pempen so pa no se covid na abeti asan kakra yibegina ya na so biom na yetumi ede akoyanim. Colleagues, so this will be the first part of the brief. I'll take questions on this and other related political matters. If I have a brief on them, I'll be happy to respond to them, and then we'll move
Good afternoon, Honorable Eric
Yes,
Mawena with Star FM. I have a number of questions. I'll start off with the budget and that which has been approved. You mentioned that the appropriation bill will be before Parliament this week, hoping for it to be passed before the 30th of March. Now, when the budget was presented, we heard the Speaker of Parliament raise certain concerns about allocations to the legislature and judiciary falling as compared to government, and there were some threats, if we can call it that the executive must correct that. Taking the appropriation bill to Parliament, has the executive corrected that, in the words of the Speaker? And I'll move away from matters relating to the budget to some bit of political news. And we know that there's been a report from the Economic Intelligence Unit. They've predicted victory for the opposition NDC come 2024. Early days yet, but if memory serves us all right, I think in 2017 they did predict same for the governing NPP then. Does government have a response to that? And then on Friday, the executive secretary to the president issued a quite detailed open letter to civil society groups seeking to make some corrections to what he believed were non-factual comments made about the retirement of the Auditor General Daniel Domelevo. Many have argued that the tone of that letter, to a great extent, is not quite presidential. And what is government seeking to achieve with that latest response, particularly vis-a-vis the latest we've seen from the board chair of the audit service asking Mr. Domelevo to hand over to his deputy?
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Or this will be the final, so that when I respond to these, then we go to health. Very well. So, in the budget proposal, and first of all, the budget is a proposal. It's a president's proposal to Parliament on how he intends to run the economy and particularly the executive arm of government and what resources can support it. And in so doing, how it will impact the economic, the social, and other aspects of our life. So first of all, it's a proposal to Parliament. Second is the fact that there are various committees in Parliament that deals with various parts of the budget. So the entire Parliament has dealt with the economic policy and has approved that one. The Special Budget Committee, if I'm right, will now attend to the proposals for the legislature and for the judiciary. And I think if you heard the Speaker in his comments, he directed the committee that when the proposals come to them, they should not consider it as ceilings or a fait accompli from the executive, but you consider what they are of the view that the legislature and the judiciary require to be able to effectively do their work. When they are done, like all other committees, they will report back to Parliament for Parliament to approve of whatever estimates they come to. There are many times that the proposals are actually amended, sometimes downwards, by the committees when they come back to the plenary. So the expectation is that they will come back with what estimates they view as acceptable, and when Parliament accepts it, that is what will go into the Appropriations Act to be enacted so that the Treasury can fund for their activities as well. So that's just a quick response to the first one. The second question, this suggestion that there's a prediction of victory for the NDC for 2024. I am one of those who believes that words matter. In what I have read, I have not seen the Economic Intelligence Unit predict victory for the NDC in 2024. I have a printout of their risk service or their risk analysis as is here. Now, may I start by saying that this administration, and if you followed all our press briefings, has a standard position on all of these surveys, opinion polls, risk assessment, predictive analysis. We have a standard position on it, and the position is that they are guiding notes, nothing more. And we consider them and use them to inform the work that we do. But also, more importantly, I think we would like to encourage everybody to actually take time and read it. Sometimes when you see a news headline like this one that says, or this is your question that uses the word predicts, you may be tempted to think that that is what the actual report contains. So don't just read the news headline. Read the report yourself. It's online and you can download it. Now, when I read the report, let me just find for you a few key parts. And the part that deals with the political outlook. I think it's on page 7. With your indulgence, let me just read. It says, Ghana's two main parties, the ruling New Patriotic Party and the NDC, have alternated in power since the return of multi-party politics in 1992. On December 9, the Electoral Commission declared the incumbent President Nana Akufo-Addo winner with 51.6%, and John Dramani Mahama of the NDC received 47.4%. The NDC went to court. It goes on. However, local and international election monitors declared the elections transparent, free, and fair. The Economist Intelligence Unit expects some small isolated incidents of violence while the challenge, which could last several months, is proceeding. By the way, that didn't happen. That expectation of theirs didn't happen. But the NDC is also expected to ultimately accept the original results as it seeks to move forward. That expectation of theirs, I think, materialized. And then it goes on to say that the next parliamentary and presidential elections are due in 2024. Under the constitutionally mandated term limits, Mr. Akufo-Addo cannot run for a third term. Mr. Mahama is reportedly considering whether to run again, but we expect the NDC to seek to revitalize its prospects with a fresh candidate. And please listen to this part. It says, after 2 terms of an MPP government, we expect the NDC to win the 2024 presidential election and to gain a small majority in parliament. So if you follow the build-up, they are talking about an 8-year alternation between this side and that side, and their expectation that that alternation is going to continue. That's my understanding of it. That's why I say words matter. Pay attention to the words that they have used, and it doesn't hurt us if we quote exactly what the person said instead of trying to interpret or paraphrase it. But be that as it may, assuming that this is the expectation that every 8 years power changes, we are very much aware of this tendency. But we believe that this whole thing where every 8 years, even when the country is making progress, power changes hands, is something that can actually set us back. And that is why this administration intends to work very hard to retain the confidence of the people by the time that our second term mandate is done, so that we can break the 8-year cycle. So it would ordinarily be a risk, but it is a phenomenon that we are keen to break. And this expectation that every 8 years power changes hands, which is what is, and I think you can clearly see, informing what they have put out there, is one that we intend to break. How do we do that? By re-engineering a recovery of the economy from where it is now, getting back on growth, expansion, jobs, incomes, and the transformation agenda. But the report also, if you read it, has its positives. It talks about what it expects our currency position to be in terms of strengthening our currency position. I think there are parts that also talk about, for example, it says the Bank of Ghana's ongoing banking sector cleanup and recapitalization efforts have positioned the sector to better manage the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. So for those who want to hold on to one part of the report is also saying that our management of the financial sector issues and the recovery of the banks is what has helped, among other things, in withstanding the shocks of COVID-19. In addition, they also talk about efforts to boost liquidity, etc. So for us, as I have mentioned, these are guiding notes. It's not a prediction. They have outlined what they expect in this 8-year cycle to see, but we are keen to work to ensure that that 8-year cycle is broken. And then you asked another question about Mr. Domelevo and the letter from the Office of the President. I think at first glance, the issues at hand are purely technical. It's a purely technical matter of the former Auditor General who retired by operation of law. If I may read you one of the parts of the statement as was issued. It says, Mr. Domelevo was neither sacked nor was his appointment terminated. He retired by operation of law because he had attained the compulsory retirement age of 60 years. So if you ask a question, what does the Office of the President seek to achieve? It is to set the record straight. Because as I've mentioned, sometimes you see people couching narratives using different, may I say, analysis, and gradually the facts begin to change. So it is a purely technical matter of the former Auditor General who retired by operation of law, and comments, particularly I think by civil society organizations, that seek to distort the matter of fact that has transpired. And that is why the Office of the President has responded in that 21-page statement. Because if you choose to move away from the technical issues and now get into the space of politics, that it is because of politics, then again, when you read the statement, it makes the argument that the presidency believes that if politics will be mentioned, then it is rather the one that has suffered politics at the hands of the former Auditor General. And they have outlined all of it. For example, the question of his appointment at a time when the administration had lost power, had appointed somebody who had declined. This is an administration that never appointed a substantive Auditor General to audit it. When it lost power, then purported to appoint Mr. Domelevo. And the fact that the President sat with him, gave him his word, asked him to go about and do his work, and I think even in Mr. Domelevo's own words, supported his work extensively. If you take some of the things that have been raised, for example, 2017, when the minister responsible for finance requested an audit to be done, if you are talking politics, requested an audit to be done of about 11 billion Ghana cedis of claims that were being made. And the audit service under Mr. Dumlevo came back and said about 5 billion of it were claims that could not be substantiated. You did not see any person of the previous administration by Mr. Dumlevo being surcharged or being held accountable for that. So the office of the president is clearly of the view that if you want to talk politics, then the office of the president or this administration is the one that has suffered politics at his hands, because then at every point in time, you begin to see a clear political demarcation, showing up. The question of Kroll and Associates, which is sometimes raised as the challenge with the Auditor General. And the statement, I think, outlines clearly that Kroll and Associates is the one that was actually supporting the fight against corruption, while the Auditor General is the one that appears to be fighting Kroll and Associates. And I think the statement explains that it is surprising that the CSOs don't seem to have any comment on all of these other matters, except to say that they believe he was fighting corruption and he was being fought by the system. And that's why the statement is out there in detail, seeking to set the record straight, that some of these comments that the president is not committed to the fight against corruption cannot stand the test of scrutiny when put to the facts on the ground. The president's commitment to supporting the audit service is without question, is even attested to by the former Auditor General. That plus his support to other institutions and his previous work in the area is why the President's office has responded without equivocation and in detail that this conversation must be attended to on the basis of facts and not an attempt to politicize. Because if you want to talk politics, then there's so much that can also be raised about what appears to be some politicization of his work as well. So that would be my response to that one. Colleagues, it appears you are done with all of the other questions. I want to invite the Ghana Health Service to take the podium and speak to matters of health. Where are we in terms of our fight against COVID? Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, are you taking the podium or? Yes. Please, join us.
Good morning. Good afternoon, gentlemen of the media. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. I will actually want to do both the COVID and the vaccine. So I'll just give a brief of our COVID situation and then go ahead with the details of the vaccine. I'll give a short brief on also the schools and then also the situation at the Kofuka International Airport, as we usually do. Okay. Great. So far, we have had a gradual decline in the number of cases of COVID-19. Our active cases have dropped from 8,000 to less than 3,500 in the past 4 weeks. The daily reported cases have declined from about 800 a day, as you saw, to about 250 or sometimes below in the last 4 weeks. And broadly, for the vaccine, generally, we have had more than 450,000 people giving their first dose. I'll give you the details subsequently. So in summary, we've so far reported 89,682 cases, and we've done 970,000 tests. Cumulative positivity is 9.2%. We have discharged about 95.1%, which is about 85,761. Unfortunately, we have recorded 725 deaths, and that gives our case fatality rate, that's the number of deaths per 100, to about 0.8%. Still far below the global average of 2%. Our total active cases today, as of the last report, is 3,196. And so we are experiencing a decline. We hope it continues. The next slide just is the usual, shows where, in terms of the cumulative cases, that you've seen significant numbers in Accra and Kumasi, and relatively lower figures in Savannah and in Northeast. Currently, the active cases still reflect the same picture, with Greater Accra carrying the significant number of the active cases. The next slide shows that we can see that the second wave, which is where we are now, has seen a consistent decline, and we are hoping that it will drop and then we'll come back to some normalcy, especially with vaccine. We hope that keeps us down there. And if we continue adopting the protocols as we are doing now, we should be able to have some relief. These are the 7-day moving average, and we will always bring you this to show you the clear picture, because the data is not always asked the exact date the sample is taken. The moving average gives us a clear view of how far the numbers are doing. You can see that we peaked at one stage, probably about February thereabout, and it's come down. It's going to continue showing a decline. You can also see that the test conducted has gone up. January, February, started coming down. Like we keep on saying, the test is in response to cases. And so as your cases go up, your contacts expand. And so you do more tests. As the numbers come down, you do a follow-up test, unless you decide to do a special exercise to do some routine tests. So we are seeing a decline in the testing we have done. That is not because we stopped testing, but those are the people who, under the current circumstances, need to be tested. Our active cases got to very high levels, as you can see, around February, and we are recording a consistent decline as it does with the 7-day moving averages and the number of cases that we are reporting. At the airport, as you are aware, we test all arriving passengers except those under 5 years of age. We've so far tested 98,968 cases. We have recorded 1,306 positives. The majority of them are non-Ghanaians, and the males outnumber the number, and that's still not much has changed. But we can see that as far as the months are concerned, March is recorded. We are in the middle of March, and we have a relatively fewer number of cases. And we hope that the number is also a reflection of Ghana's cases, especially where we are receiving cases from. And we hope that will continue and reduce the number of imports that we are getting into the country. Next slide. The positivity rate at the airport too has come down, and also peaked in January when we had our own number of influx of coming, especially with the new variant coming in. It has also come down significantly. I think one of the most important steps that have been taken recently is the opening of schools in January. And that also came with the issue of managing the protocols at the schools to ensure that the school doesn't become the breeding ground for COVID. So far, 316 schools have ever reported a case. Total number of cases recorded in the school is 1,920. Northeast region is the only region that has not reported any case in any school. One mortality was recorded among cases in the schools, and the active cases of the school stands at 220. Remember last week it was about 570 there, but it's actually dropped down, which means that we are not getting more positive than those who are recovering. And the next shows you that Ahafo has made reports. 7 schools have reported cases. 30 of them, 26 have recovered. We have 4 active cases. Ashanti had cases in 34 schools. They are currently having 3 active cases. Bono has from 38 schools with 245 cases. They have 11 active cases. Bono is from 22 schools. They had 97 cases. All of them, only 2 are active, which means 95 are recovered. Central is also 16 schools with 19 active cases so far. Eastern, 27 schools reporting 328 cases, but they currently have 3 active cases. Greater Accra had 47 schools reporting cases, and currently they have 49 active cases. Northeast, no case. Northern region, 4 schools, and they have 2 active cases so far. The same goes for OT, with 10 schools. OT has 10 schools with 18 active cases currently. Savannah, only 1 school reported a case. They've all recovered. So it's 9 cases in 1 school, so they currently don't have any active case. Upper East, from 32 schools, got 52 cases. They are currently recording 2 active cases. Upper West, no active case. Volta region has recent cases in whole township, so they have 100 active cases after reporting the highest number of cases of 467. Western region has from 34 schools recorded 183 cases. Currently have 5 active cases. So in total, Western North, 8 schools, 18 cases. They have 2 active cases. In total, 220 active cases is what we have. 316 schools have so far been infected, and about 1,700 students have recorded it. Okay, now we'll go to our vaccine update. This is as at the 21st March, 11:30 a.m. As you are aware, we started our vaccination on the 2nd of March 2021 using so far AstraZeneca vaccine. As at 21st March, that's yesterday, we have so far recorded 468,581 persons have been vaccinated. And I must add that there are portions of areas where entries have not done, especially in Accra and parts of Ashanti region, especially some sections where they are still keying the data. Greater Accra has the highest number of persons vaccinated, about 260,954. If you look at the next chart, you can see that cumulatively the number of vaccinated has gone up, even though the chart has not, the gradient has not been as high towards the end, because the numbers of people we are searching for have significantly dwindled, and we are just mopping up. So this shows the total number of cases that is being done, and the 8th of March probably was the highest number of cases that was ever vaccinated in the country. As at 20th, we had about 590 vaccination done in the 3 zones that we are currently working in. So if you get a general breakdown, you see Ashanti has done 195,449 people have been vaccinated, first dose. Central, 12,178. Greater Accra, 260,954, bringing the total to the 468,581 people who have been given their first dose vaccination with AstraZeneca. The chart shows you the 43 districts that we are working in, and look at the sex ratio, male, female, to see where we are. I think there's a more okay, when we get to the final one, it's just almost a par between males and females. We also, the number of vaccinations in absolute numbers. You can see the highest in Kumasi Metro, followed by Accra Metro. But Accra has a spread, but so they still have that. So that tells you how the vaccination has gone. The next slide. The previous slide is just showing that the target versus what was achieved. There are areas we have exceeded, there are areas we are just under, but some of them were. So if you look at the next slide, you can see Greater Accra has 56%, 42% Ashanti, and 2% for Central Region. We're doing only two districts in Central Region. When we started vaccination, we had a special segmentation. The top priority was let's mop up the hotspots where we have a lot of breeding grounds, Greater Accra, Ashanti, and part of Central Region, which is actually a contiguous part of Greater Accra. And also in that, we needed to look at certain category of people, health workers, adults about 80, 60 years of age because of the associated mortality in that group. And then also the general population. We also had persons with disability who have underlying conditions like hypertension, because these were the ones who are actually don't do very well with the disease. And so we went out to target them. We also looked at the people who are actually at the forefront, health workers, security people who have to meet people all the time, to also vaccinate them. And of course, keep the states running, so making sure legislature, executive, and judiciary is also somehow protected. The front line of that group, front line. So if you look at that chart, you can see that the highest group is the adults, adults over 60, and we've done about 102,186, followed by the general population of about 93,502. I would say the general population, a lot of them is a bit of misclassification if you are not able to assign them appropriately to whether it's security, whether it's a media person. If it's a media person, is it a media person with hypertension or whatever? These are areas on the field that create a challenge, and so they are aligned as general population. Then the third is the health workers, about 73,000. Persons with known underlying conditions is about 64,870. So by and large, essential service workers, about 59,000 of them. So by and large, the segmentation has been achieved. We look at the people who greatly benefited from the first phase of vaccination that we are doing. Next slide. So the sex ratio is 48% of all those vaccinated are males, with 52 being females. We also, as part of our information gathering to see how to improve acceptance of vaccination, we looked at where they are getting their information from. And persistently, we have seen that a significant number of them are getting their information on vaccination on television, followed by radio, and then third is health workers. We have the social media comes in quite strongly, and community information is also out there, and then the mobile vans that are going around educating people have been cited as one of the areas that they also get to know about the vaccination. Let me take my attention to the AstraZeneca issue that was dominating the airwaves last week. Some countries in the European Union temporarily suspended the use of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine as a precautionary measure based on reports of a rare blood coagulation disorders in persons who had received the vaccine. So other countries in the EU, having considered the same information, continued using the vaccine in their immunization program. So what it means is that not every EU country stopped gave the temporary suspension. As we continue to say, vaccination against the COVID-19 will not reduce illness or death from other causes. So doesn't mean that because you have had vaccination, if you have any thromboembolic or a clotting disorder, it will not occur. And so we wanted to make sure that is clear. And these occur very frequently. So whatever happens to you, we have a way of doing a causality analysis to see whatever happened to you, is it because of the vaccine or not, before we look at that. And we have done some 3 that I can share with you. So globally, venous blood clotting event is the 3rd most common cardiovascular disease in the world. In mass vaccination campaigns, it's routine for countries to signal potential adverse events following immunization. And that's why we have a very strict process of following up people with any event that could, so that we learn whatever is happening and make sure that it is not associated with the vaccine. It also does not necessarily mean that the events are linked to the vaccination itself, but it's a good practice to investigate every reported case after vaccination. So what happened there is right. It also shows that the surveillance system works and that effective controls are in place. Otherwise, sometimes things may be happening without knowing. And so as long as people are reporting, so far about 1,500 or so plus people have reported some adverse events that we are following. So the European Medicines Agency has reviewed the cases I was reported, and that led to the suspension, and indicated that the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe. The Ghana FDA has also issued a press statement that no blood clotting events have been detected in its robust adverse event monitoring system, which we do with us, the Ghana Health Service. Finally, WHO, the European Medicines Agency, and Ghana FDA, and many other regulatory authorities around the world indicate that AstraZeneca continues to be safe and recommend its continuous use in its fight against pandemic. And so that is what we are continuing to do. So just to bring the information that it's safe and that everybody should just participate in the vaccination and not worry about some of those events that are happening. The most common complaint we've had so far since vaccination started, about 1,575 who are reported, are headaches, fever, pain at the general injection site, and general body aches. These are the commonest complaints that we've had from the many 1,575 people that we have investigated. So far, I think they've done about 3 causality assessments, and that is, we look and say, was this, and we do that because when the event is severe, 2 are unrelated. The third one was the fact that because it was a sickler and had induced a sickle cell crisis. And so, but the person is fine and is back home. I'm sure we are all eager to see when is the next vaccine coming. But our next phase of work is to vaccinate all other health workers across the country because they are frontline wherever they are. And that will give us about 90,000 health workers, minus those who are already vaccinated, will be vaccinated, both public and private, starting from Monday. The trainings have taken place. We collected their information, their names, their location, and each district will have 2 sites for vaccination, and we are hoping that within a week or 2 weeks, all health workers would have been covered across the country. So far, Ghana needs about 42 million doses. That's if you are using only 2-dose vials for all to vaccinate the 20 million people we have targeted to do by October. This includes the wastage, anticipated wastage, and that's why it's 42 million. So far, we have a certain quantity from the COVAX platform, which is about 12 million plus for about 6 million people, covering 20% of the population. We are also having about 17 million plus requested from the African Medicines platform that we hope to arrive in. There are also the private sector of Ghana is also partnered with the government to bring in additional quantity through the COVAX facility to make up the Bamba. We are also involved in bilateral discussions with other vaccine manufacturers to be able to fill up this number. So far, we have received the 600,000, additional 50,000 plus, and MTN, as part of its corporate social responsibility, is supporting Africa with vaccines, and we are expecting that the next day or 2 we will receive about 160,000 doses for as Ghana, and this is part of the quantity we are expecting to add. We are expecting that in the next 2 weeks we will get some inflows again from these areas where we are expecting them to come. What we don't know is that we don't have very definite timeline, but we know that within the period of where people are supposed to receive their second doses, we have received enough vaccines to cover more people and give those who are due for the second dose. And let me remind you that the second dose is 8 to 12 weeks from the date of vaccination. We are tentatively using the 8 weeks as the next vaccination, but there's also the buffer of 4 more weeks. And the issue is that the longer the separation, the more effective the vaccine is. And so we'll follow up with a timetable, the data has been given, and continue with the vaccination. Finally, Honorable Minister, I want to talk about the alleged theft. I think we issued a statement yesterday that noting the fact that the security service have arrested people who purportedly have been taking vaccines and selling to the private sector. We are working with them. We have also initiated some administrative procedure for the various leadership in those centers to give us a report. Vaccine accountability process has been intensified to ensure that we are able to uncover any other ones that we don't know about. I also want to remind people that this current vaccines is under emergency use authorization. So no private person is allowed to handle vaccines. So anybody walks to you that I have vaccines and is not a Ghana Health Service worker designated to do, that is something wrong. It is not, it's under emergency use authorization. So please help us to identify anybody who comes in with a vaccine I want to give it to you. We are working with the security agencies to unravel. If they are found culpable, the necessary actions will be taken as a service. As far as also, I'm sure the rest of the legal matter, I will not get into that. So, Honorable Minister, this is where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. We will take a few questions and then we will wrap up. I saw a number of questions, or one for you online. That we do know that we've also got Sputnik V in the Ghanaian jurisdiction, but a lot of commentary suggests that we are using Astra. So there's a question from one person named Jimmy. When will the vaccination using Sputnik V commence? That's one of the questions I've seen so far. Colleagues, are there any other questions on Ghana Health Service on vaccination and COVID? So I think that'll be the only one to ask you. Then I'll take one final one.
Can I answer now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, I talked about some bilateral arrangements on other vaccines, and we know that within the next week or two, we will get some doses of Sputnik V, and then we'll also start as part of the Group 2 vaccination. We'll use that, and we are waiting for a confirmation of the exact date that it will come, and then we will take it on. So yes, we've registered Sputnik V. We have arrangement that some are coming in. And I will brief you.
No, thank you. While you resume your seat, let me deal with just one other question I noted. The question was whether or not there are any countries that have introduced or are considering introduction of revenue measures post-COVID in other parts of the world. So, for example, the UK is hiking corporate tax, I understand, to about 25% to support their response program. British Finance Minister Rishi Sunak announced on Wednesday that the UK corporation tax will increase to 25% in April 2023 as the government looks to restore public finances in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think in Indonesia, they've done a 10% VAT on sales by technology firms. And then in Argentina, they've passed a new tax on the wealthiest people to pay for medical supplies and relief measures. In Saudi Arabia, they are considering tripling their value-added tax as part of austerity measures following the COVID response program. I think in the US, they are also considering some of the major hikes since 1993. So we are not alone in this situation. Colleagues, maybe I'll just take that in chi. I'm saying, no, be bisase, enti, Ghana and Kwana, yɛhwɛ kwan a yɛbɛtumi ɛnyɛ sika de akoatia saa yɛarie anaasɛ yɛko awie no na yɛko akɔ yɛnim no yɛsika sɛm a ɛhwehwan no yɛbɛtumi ayɛ no yie. Wohwɛ UK a ɔmo sɛ ɔmo de corporate tax ɛkɔ bɛyɛ 25%. Indonesia ɔmo sɛ ɔmo de 10% value added tax on technology firms ɛɛba. Argentina ɔmo yɛ new tax ɛde atua for medical supplies ɛne other relief measures a ɔmo yɛ. Saudi Arabia ɔmo dwen ho sɛ ɔmo bɛbɔ ɔmo value added tax no ho mprɛnsa. America for yes, your mampany Biden on also read the first major tax measure since 1993. Taxes are ye peja mudia imudu kakra since 1993. And after almost pass it by 1.9 trillion the support in yama ekosono. Inti enye yanku na baby we are sina biduno ubia esane na bosu kakra ni nyina yetumide akoyanim. We're grateful to you. Wish you guys all the best. Maybe during the week we'll re-engage for a midweek brief. Thank you so much.